Thanks so much. It's enjoyable to spend time with our colleagues in the field as we continue to look at interoperability and support MEF18. Hopefully from the video, we call this human ability, looking at remote healthcare and looking at the work that we're doing in this particular area. Once again, you look at what the industry is driving from a speed and access and a connection standpoint, and once again, kind of pushing ourselves at the incredible speed by which our network performance has to continue to evolve. So let me start, first of all, thank you for being here and for the MEF team, inviting Verizon to participate once again this year. The work that we're doing to continue to look to drive innovation across the industry. One of the things we're so proud of, Sean Hackle, we actually have as a member officer on MEF. We're staying very close to the work that MEF is doing as we believe in the mission and the work that's being done in this particular area. As we look at MEF 3.0 and the launch of Sonata API standards, our collective progress toward interoperability continues to evolve. This is important for us, and we must continue to drive this going forward in the industry. One of the things I'll share and chat with you about today is partnering for success and building the future today. Once again, we believe in the importance of making sure we're bringing technology forward and making sure that technology is caring for applications, not for just tomorrow, but what can we do today from a Verizon standpoint, and the investment that we're making as we talk about the fourth industrial revolution and the change that's taking place in the industry to make certain that we're continuing to drive that going forward. Those of you that heard from me in the past know we always have to have this lovely disclaimer statement to make sure my legal team is excited and supportive and happy. As I clearly start ad-libbing and giving good insights on things that I like to believe in, they like to make sure that you're not making investment decisions based on anything Eric has said about what I anticipate happening in the industry in the marketplace. From there, let's talk about industry trends. I always try to spend some time updating you each year about some of the industry trends that Verizon is seeing out in the marketplace. Clearly, the 4-to-1 movement on internet-connected devices will outnumber people by 2020 by 4-to-1. I know I'm seeing this in my household today. Clearly, I'm sure you're seeing the same type of change in the industry as well. And what do we do in the industry to make sure we're caring for this need for real-time, anytime, anywhere, any device that's expected from our networks? Within Verizon, we talk about this industry trend about 1 million 5G-enabled devices per square kilometer. And we compare that to 4G, where we talk about 1,000 devices per square kilometer. So hopefully you see the exponential change that we believe in the industry, not looking at 3G to 4G, thinking 5G is just that next step, but really a revolutionary change, as some of my previous speakers had chatted about with you today. So we're excited about this change in the industry, and once again, the enablement that we believe 5G brings to the industry. Last data point, you see industry trends there. We talk about customer experience, up from 36% in 2010. So we'll continue to see companies compete on the basis of customer experience and the work that we're doing for ease of business and the customer experience transformation that we know is important for us in the industry going forward. And so we'll spend some time talking about that beyond industry trends. With that, we'll talk somewhat about building the future. We use a tagline internally that we don't wait for the future at Verizon, we build the future. And we talk about the 150 countries that Verizon represents globally today. I had an opportunity to spend some time in Capacity Europe last week and really talking to some of the global customers that we have. But once again, 150 countries we support, 1 billion people that we reach in the world today, almost 100% fiber network as we look to connect people, places, and things across the industry. Our ThingSpace platform continues to see growth in the IoT area. This is a platform by which we partner with about 14,000 developers in this particular space. Once again, our belief in partnerships, interoperability, working together, how it takes us where we need to go into the future and not thinking we're going to do all this on our own internally. So more and more partnering to drive innovation and development from an IoT standpoint. Our 800,000 fiber route miles across the globe, continue our network transformation across the globe, making certain that we're continuing to drive fiber deployment across the footprint. And then lastly, from building the future, just a 5G standpoint, as you know, we've announced some of our work. I see our CTO coming in there, Kyle Milady, so you get a chance to hear from him a little later. But really excited about the work that we're doing in the 5G area. with our first in-home 5G installation that we did on October 1st in Houston, Texas. We've also announced what we're going to do in the Los Angeles space, as well as Indianapolis and Sacramento. And due to some of the devastation we've seen in Panama City and Florida, we've also announced the work we're going to do with 5G investment there in the Florida region as well. So we're continuing to push this, continuing to lead in this particular space, because once again, the exponential change I talked about, where I talked about those 1 million connected devices per square kilometer as compared to 1,000 in the 4G space, and moving ourselves from a fixed wireless home broadband analogy to more mobility play as the standards continue to play themselves forward. So let's talk about the technology as we look at it in Verizon from benefiting our society. We believe that the user experience is clearly what's going to drive more and more of the innovation that's taking place in this particular space, and we're excited about the growth that we see in this particular area. Particularly if you think about 1G and kind of just basic voice work that was being done from a 1G standpoint, move ourselves into 2G with the work that was done, more introducing text messaging and short messaging, if you will. Evolving ourselves into 3G arena, really looking more between access to the internet through our smartphone devices, and then the 4G walk, where blazing data transfer rates that we're connecting devices that we rely on each and every day. But as I said earlier, taking the 5G revolutionary move to the point where massive bandwidth, we believe even greater opportunities will continue to drive what's taking place in the industry on an exponential standpoint, particularly as we deliver things like, once again, a dense fiber network, looking at what we do from a software-defined network standpoint, and the work that we're driving from a multi-access edge compute you've heard others talk about today, and pushing that down to the edge with the idea that we once again reduce latency in our network and support applications from a 5G standpoint, whether it's kind of autonomous cars or continue to look at gaming or other applications that we continually think folks will take advantage of because of the exponential and what I believe is the mind-boggling change that you'll see with the 5G network. Excited about what it does from a battery life for low-power devices, continue to see data rates and what we're supporting from connected devices going forward in this particular space. And we'll continue to look to drive and lead in this particular area as we go forward in the investments that we're making into the network itself. One of the things we talked about last month from a Verizon standpoint is our 5G Ultra Wideband and the work that we know that we're driving in this particular area. As you saw, the human ability kind of video we showed before I came up on stage. And then later today, as I mentioned to you, Kyle Milady, our acting CTO, will be on a panel and really talking about the objective to leverage technology today, faster ways to improve the performance of our network, and really predicting right out of the gate kind of the experience as far as data traffic and, once again, potential problems that we would see in the network. But what are we doing to fix that so you as a user experience don't even realize that there was anything going on in the network itself. As we continue to look forward to the work that's being done with 3GPP release 15 completed in June of 18, and the next big step in the completion of release 16, when we believe with that scheduled to complete in December of 2019, this will continue to open up the things that we'll deliver from an end-to-end architecture standpoint from 5G by 2020. And once again, continue to push upon this as standards continue to evolve. OEM and device manufacturers continue to put devices forward, how we leverage that experience over our 5G ultra wideband network. So one of the things that we've spent some time talking about, particularly with the industry, is this fourth industrial revolution, where once again I've talked about 5G and the exponential pace by which we know the industry will continue to evolve and to move forward. And so if you think of kind of the first industrial revolution, more around kind of water and steam from a mechanized production standpoint, but then you take yourself to kind of that second industrial revolution, which was more electric power to create mass production, but then kind of take it to the third industrial revolution, where we talk about electronics and information technology that automated production itself. But now take that big revolutionary loop into 5G, where we once again feel strong about the fourth industrial revolution and what that ushers in from a standpoint of how we learn and think and process information. As we think of Klaus Schwab, kind of the World Economic Forum chair and founder there, and the thought process around rushing in this fourth industrial revolution and how we enable that more and more going forward with the work that we do, particularly in partnership with other carriers and with MEF through our standards body. And I would suggest to you today that this is kind of beyond just technology itself. Clearly, the technology today and tomorrow, we know it's kind of a platform for the innovation itself, but continually looking at the creativity that we know more industries will form going forward. And so as we rush in this fourth industrial revolution and what we know that comes with the exponential change out from 4G to even 5G, and continue to build from a lifecycle services orchestration standpoint, looking at Sonata and the APIs by which we're continuing to push our interoperability in the network, we continue to know that we'll stand this up for more and more collaboration in the industry and the work that's done with our partners going forward, and continue to push more and more about how we change the way people think and learn and process information, not just today, but going forward from a technology standpoint. I mentioned earlier about this transformation that we see from a customer experience standpoint, continuing once again with simplification, kind of modernization, as well as providing more kind of a customer control and on-demand type of need that we continue to see, being more agile, more orchestrated and flexible relative to the network, driving more speed, pushing more of the mobile edge compute to the end piece, and once again driving that from a low latency standpoint from a 5G network. Once again, pushing standards and working on defining interoperability in the work while we stay committed in working with MEF and 3.0 and the things that are coming out of the forum there. I know we have a panel later today that Viraj Parekh from our Global Products and Solutions team will be on that panel and talking about some of the work that we're doing in this particular area and the constant evolution that we continue to see, taking ourselves beyond first generation machine learning to more resiliency and protections as a part of our software defined network and solutions going forward, and continue to drive that. Also, I know Mehmet Toy is here from Verizon from our global products team as well, actively involved from a MEF standpoint. One project is our interlude project for Access E-Line for on-demand modifications. So continue to make certain that the standards bodies are working for on-demand modifications for our E-Line access services without repeating the service ordering process itself, but once again, making sure we're streamlining our spec and defining exchanges between our service providers and our users and our service providers to its partners. So we're real strong about the work that's being done here and the modeling of our APIs being worked in parallel. So really pleased to partner with MEF in driving that. The second project that Verizon is partnering with is around cloud services architecture. And once again, defining kind of the framework for our virtualized services, including SD-WAN, and continue to push this as we look at existing processes and tools, and once again, look at ordering, provisioning, billing, and maintenance, and making sure that this is a self-configurated type of service approach that we can drive in the industry and the marketplace. And so as we look at standard interfaces between our cloud service operators, be it Verizon, Amazon, Google, et cetera, continue to look at how we interoperate kind of network infrastructure and the work that's being done at the application level. So we'll continue to drive and partner and work with the MEF team. I know we've got Scott Melanson here with us today, who wrote an article talking about the transformation of the customer experience and the work that we're doing with MEF and TMM Forum to work on common standards for our Sonata APIs. And once again, feel very strong that once again, the more that we look at these inter-carrier interoperability and working together, we can scale to make certain we're providing a stronger customer and user experience going forward, which is we know is exactly what they're driving more and more in the industry. As we look at onboarding, our quoting, our contracting, once again, our service availability, our chat and communication with our customer, and dashboards, et cetera. So we'll continue to drive this as we look at the work that we're doing with MEF and look forward to that type of partnership across the inter-carrier community. So as I wrap, have you think about, as we think about building the future, not waiting for it, but building it from a Verizon standpoint. Clearly, some of the initial work we did from an Ethernet standpoint, we continue to deliver and strong in what we're delivering in this particular space in the industry itself. But how do we take this beyond that to the work that we're doing from an SD-WAN standpoint, looking at our first interoperability trial. I talked to you about the work that we're doing in 5G, as we've announced 4, if not 5 cities that we're driving 5G and continue to work with labs and partnerships that we're doing today to make certain that we're collaborating from a standards base so that we can scale along what we're calling our intelligent edge network. Once again, looking at the dense fiber to allow us to once again drive the speed that's needed in the industry and the marketplace with the constant bandwidth demand, taking that from a software-defined network standpoint where we allow the cloud to do that level of compute and drive that to the mobile edge standpoint, and once again take us on the road to 5G as we continue to deal with low latency and support applications associated with that, and then kind of usher in this fourth industrial revolution that I talked about previously. So with that, I thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your commitment to the work that we're doing from a standards body standpoint, realizing once again, the more this work that we do together, the more we can scale this and make sure we're providing the user experience going forward. So with that, I thank you so much as Verizon continues to push ourselves to a business-ready state to making certain that we're caring for the needs of our customers as well as our partners going forward. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.